for this week's report.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Bi-Weekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
And welcome to the Pairpoint Park Stakeholders Advisory Committee meeting for November. I'm Steve Jones. And
Keith Whitehouse.
Ann Hohenberger.
Bill Short. Bill Campbell.
Mary Teagle.
And we have
Nico.
yes, and we have a member of the citizen of Exeter,
Doug Eastman.
Doug Eastman. Yes, and Dave Sharples may or may not be able to make it. He's coming. Okay. Is there any public comment? Hearing none. Let's move on to the next agenda item. The most important agenda item is we will be out of here by 6. That is the most important agenda item. And seriously, if we're not done with any conversation, we'll just suspend at 6 and resume next month.
I noticed there was an editorial comment in the minutes about time. No, it was a comment of admiration.
So, yes, on to the minutes.
Right.
May I insert that, given that we might go over time, that the last item be items for the next meeting's agenda, that we get that on record, please.
Okay.
Thanks.
Minutes of the last meeting.
I move they be accepted as presented.
Second.
All right. Dave, do you have the motion and the second?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, welcome here.
Hey, Jen.
Welcome here. I heard a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay.
I'm going to abstain because I
Okay.
don't even know what the motion is.
Except in the minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I will be an aye then, sorry.
Yeah. So moved. Next order of business. We are down one committee member, and so it is the power of the chairman to appoint alternates to full committee members, I understand. Is that correct? Nico?
The committee, through you, can make a recommendation to the select board, and then the select board can formally appoint that at our next meeting.
William Campbell.
Yes.
I appoint you for the remainder of this meeting as a full committee member and submit to the select board our nomination of Bill Campbell to be a full member.
And we'll take that up Monday night,
Thank you very much.
and I'll get back to let you know.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Park fence update. Dave, you snuck in. Good to have you here. This was merely the opportunity to say that we replaced the fence, and it looks great.
We did.
Yeah.
Thanks to Keith and others, and Rick and Scott and Craig and
Yeah.
Doug. Right over here, we all
And you?
kind of chipped in and yourself, and I think it looks great. We decided, as you noted, we're just, we weren't gonna leave, we left alone the gate on the right by Cornicello, and then we also left alone the gate on the left, where originally we were just gonna do that. But we thought, I didn't realize until we went over there and looked at it more closely, that there was no post next to the building. That gate actually went and it was held by they screwed a hole into the building. And I wasn't touching the building, so we left that gate as is, and I think it looks great. You can see the river, and I think it's.
Have you had any
we-
comments from?
Yeah, we've had comments from people, that said it, been very pleased, saying it looks great.
On behalf of the committee, thanks
Yes.
to the entire crew that went out there, Doug and Dave, Greg, Scott, Keith, and Bill Semra, who was assisting you.
The grounds look good. They were mowed.
They were mowed. And thank you for all the work. You did an additional little bit of landscaping at the sidewalk to put in some fill there so no one would twist an ankle.
Yeah, we started that, and, Keith Keith, Doug, we all chipped in, and that's now, before it was actually a tripping hazard if you walked off, now it's all, it's all nice and protected, so it's much better than it was. And then one thing I was wrong about, I estimated the budget at $800, it came in at like 500, so.
Oh, good, less.
Oh, good.
We
I
love
overshot.
that.
Well, we ended up
love
having to return, we didn't need a 50, because we didn't do that gate on the other side, we only needed a 50-foot roll, because it was like 54 feet, so we had to buy two 50-foot rolls of chain link, and they're like $170 a piece, but we didn't need that second one, because we decided not to do the gate, so we just did one, and we returned that one, so it came in around $500.
Very good.
Excellent. Excellent.
I have a two fence questions, sort of. What are the widths of the two easements is one question. And the other one, did anyone notice that on the one side, the property owners or the dwellers put up a little fence?
So I can answer the first question about the easements. It's up to, it is a maximum of, I believe, 38 inches on the chocolatier side. So that's, that, and the easement is basically what remains of the paved pathway, which is giving way. On the Cornicello side, it's 6 feet.
Okay.
And I based that on a review of the 2020 plan that we presented earlier this year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What was that second question?
Oh, did anyone notice the little, it's like a fence like you would see at a movie theater. It's a bunch of little bollards and then droopy rope things on the,
Cornicello side. I went there yesterday, I didn't
Oh.
notice it, or Tuesday, and I didn't notice it.
yeah.
No.
But they did have posts that they were putting out. So, bears investigation, at least looking at. Yeah,
If it's on their property, they can.
they can do what they want, yeah.
And if it's not,
I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll get to that at some point.
It doesn't matter right
Yes.
now.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
now it doesn't. I just thought I'd ask, so it's not a surprise. Thanks.
Moving on to public input, subcommittee. Amanda gives her regrets that she's unable to make it this evening. That leaves Dev, who's unfortunately not here. And if you have anything to report on our activities, I know that, let me preface this by saying that Amanda was quite clear that she wanted to share none of the comments that people had made so far, that according to her original packet, and the timeline that she gave, that we approved, that comments can come in through all of December. And
It's still coming.
they're still coming.
Can we get an update on like how many comments we're getting? Has the public outreach so far been successful?
I can
Probably
speak to some of
about
that.
20.
Yeah.
Or more, maybe 30, I don't know.
So we have in the hundreds of
Oh, okay.
of comments.
I missed it.
We have them from a variety of sources. Anne, you just handed in some. We sat in with Dev. We split up the day, the four of us, at the atrium to the Talbot Gym on Election Day, and gathered 200
Oh, nice.
comments, which we wrote down. And Amanda reports that we've received hundreds of, and this is rumor at this point, I haven't seen any details, and I might be completely off, but she,
From the online?
there's, yeah, online,
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
hundreds
great.
of comments. So, any rate, you have nothing else to add?
No.
Okay. We don't have any of our other subcommittee experts, as it were. I know that Dev did at least one set of interviews. I did a set of interviews. Not a very good yield rate, but Tuesday at lunch hour, 3 people. So that's where we are today. It brings us to the question of chaperone visits onto the site. That was part of your motion last month, Dave, that this opens the opportunity for chaperone visits. I guess my basic question is, what would it take to have a chaperone visit allowed on that site? So, Nico, this is perhaps a question best to you. Do we need any insurance review of the site, or does the town have any position, the select board have any position about chaperone visits?
No, I think I would just, I would run it by the town manager's office just to make sure that that's acceptable to the insurance company, but I don't think that will be a problem.
Okay. So I can contact Russ Dean?
Yeah, Russ or Pam,
Yes.
we're in his office.
Okay.
Steve,
Yeah.
I have an old copy of the agenda, which doesn't show when you want me to do my spiel.
Coming up.
Okay.
So we've hit 1, 2, and 5. 1, 2, 4, and 5. So we started some interviews. I know that Dev put out a sign-up sheet. There are not a lot of sign-ups, but I can sign up for some more. Perhaps a weekend would be a better time to get comments, because there's not a lot of foot traffic, even at lunch in the fall on a weekday. One of the 3 people I interviewed was a town staff person and his wife and very young baby. Okay, election day interviews. We sat, we being Ann, Dev, Mary and I sat at various times in the atrium of the Talbot Gym. Mary.
Well, I wasn't going to report on the comments either, or I should say anyway, so I will honor Amanda's request. I just wanted to share some of my impressions. It was difficult this time for members of the public to actually get to that table because there were so darn many people. The town moderator rearranged the traffic. But I was struck with the fact that people tried to get to us anyway. And like Steve said, there were some 200 comments. And I was there maybe a total of 5 hours or 6 on 2 different shifts. And my estimate is that more than half of the ones that were put in the box were unsolicited. People just showed up, wrote something down, and disappeared. So that showed me that there's some enthusiasm and interest in the project, and I think that's positive. Yeah,
Okay.
to be continued.
You have a handout.
I do. I'm not going to go over every word that's in the handout, but I've indicated in yellow, like everybody else here.
We don't have the,
No,
Okay.
I'll just read the parts and you can read the others at your leisure. Like everybody here, I want the best outcome for our work. Our intention is to continue to learn more so that we can develop what I'm going to call an architectural program. It's basically a list of requirements as we see them that we will present to the select board. So at some point very soon, I think we should start actually writing down our findings, just a long list minimal detail to get the sense across of what we've discovered, what people are saying, and also questions that we need to address or answer. Just a rolling list. And it changes over time. I'm willing to shortstop that list and keep it up to date and categorize it as we go along and keep it available to everyone, including the select board and key stakeholders. By the way, we haven't identified our key stakeholders formally, and I think they include Parks and Rec, maybe Public Works, and because our agendas overlap a little, the Conservation Committee, the Tree Committee, I may be missing them. So at some point, I think we should figure out how to, and the adjacent property owners. I think we need to figure out and get a clear way to at least interview some of their key people and then report back to this group. So it's a proposal that we do that. And I think the time to start writing down what we know and what we want to know, including the unknown. A lot of unknowns will pop up, and it will constitute the meat of an architectural program. So I'm just going to go through a little arcane stuff. An architectural program gives a designer and architect a fairly full sense of requirements for what the client envisions for the site in order to realize the goals of the project. It's a conversation that goes back and forth between the designers, this advisory board, the select board, and other key stakeholders. And over time, that will refine that list of requirements. And the final thing, of course, is the final requirements. I'm proposing that we keep track of this and put it on the agenda as required, because it does a couple of things. It keeps us on track. It forms a skeleton for a timeline and a budget, a draft budget at least. And then some of the things that I think we ought to do, I've made a long list. It's the last page. And I would really love it if people would start thinking about what we need to know, what we already know, and I will organize it in some kind of fashion that makes it easier to, like, what's going on here? It looks like a laundry list, so it will be more categorized than that. So one of the things about an architectural program that people start early is it saves burnout, it saves redundancy, it keeps people apprised of where we're going, so we're all sort of equally in the know. Maybe not on every last detail, but we've got a sense of our game plan. It saves money in the long run, because as we keep track, we probably won't have any whoops, we didn't think of that. And with that, I just want to say, one of the things is to look at other parks. And I think Steve wants me to talk about that toward the end. Is that true?
That's true.
I will. But I would encourage each of us to take our moment and each of us write down one of these commentaries. What do you and you and you and you, what do each of us want in the park? I think it's fair game. We don't need to identify ourselves, but I think it would be a reinforcing activity. So that's it on my,
Okay.
any questions?
Yeah, Dave,
I have a
question.
question.
Yeah, what?
Jen, does this match up with what you think you need to proceed? Or how you would typically approach a project like this?
I think I think this is the first time I'm seeing this, so it's kind of hard to respond.
We have talked.
Yeah, we've
Again.
talked briefly over email, but I haven't seen this document, so I can't really respond to it right now. I do feel like, yes, I think reaching out to the stakeholders is really important, and I've mentioned that before. The key stakeholders, I think we have to have a really good understanding of what the maintenance capacity for the park is going to be and all of that before we finalize the design. I think a lot of that can happen during the design process, which we're not designing the park.
No.
We're getting feedback and developing a concept. But I think part of that is developing the program. So I think seems to me like a really good approach and a good effort. And I think I'm not sure how this dovetails with the community outreach effort. I think that they go together, it seems to me. But, yeah, I mean, I think everyone needs to be we as a committee should come up with like, what are the most important things for this park, and have priorities and then like goals. And these are things we can refer back to if we start getting off course. Like, oh, well, so-and-so wants this thing here. How does that support our goals? And if it doesn't, then maybe we say, okay, maybe that's less important, so it'll help us with decision making. So I think it's a worthwhile effort. I mean, it seems like I'm excited to kind of read through this in more
Good.
detail. Yeah, and we're going to chat on Sunday.
Keep things somewhat streamlined too, so that we continue to make progress on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can get bogged down in the details. That's just something to keep in mind, I think, that
If you could speak into the mic just a little bit so people can hear you. I'm so sorry.
Nobody wants to hear me.
Yeah.
All right, do I have to repeat myself?
Yes, please. Yeah.
I just think one of our goals should be to keep, there's a lot of good stuff here, but there's a lot of stuff here. And I just think in the interest of making progress on this project that we need to keep in mind that we want to keep it as streamlined as possible also, and still get to where we want to go in a responsible manner.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at me. I agree, and I
Say that all
I've been
over.
tasked by the guys
Like
out
a-
back to keep
like
people
a
on the
little
microphone. So
bird
I'm gonna.
hanging out in front of me. I think I'm a planner by nature, so yeah, you're going to get planning ideas from me.
Yeah.
My experiences in working with multiple numbers of people, and this is a small park, but it's packed with issues, with details. I think keeping a running list of what people want to do there or not do there, and refining it over time will actually save time, because we probably, without something like this, we might go back to, oh my God, we should check that out, or, oh, I forgot that important thing. So it's a matter of writing them down. They're not commandments. They will evolve over time. There might be 80 items on there, but it's probably maybe 8 topics that can be put together. And this is something we would show to the select board so that they would, I don't know if believe is the right word, but be satisfied that we did do due diligence.
Mhm.
And it will constitute something that a designer can work with. And we could do a preliminary presentation to the select board, and they'll go, oh my God, you guys are way off track, or you're spot on. How about checking this out? Because it will have been almost 2 years probably from the beginning of when we sat until we're done. So that's my rationale. And I know it's a lot of work, so that's why I promised to be the shortstop. And I won't insert my opinions. I'll just do a record and bring up things as they occur to me as I observe them.
Does anyone else have any questions? I had a question that followed up with, well, to follow on your, or piggyback on your second question, which is, how does this dovetail with the public comments that we're receiving? And Mary?
Well, we had a little Steve and Mary caucus. And one of the things that I wanted to do before the election on the questionnaire was add a few more questions. Of course, we can do that in our interviews. But what I think is really important is we got a list of, like, items, furniture. We didn't get enough nouns. We didn't get enough verbs. Like, what are people actually going to do there? Are they going to take a nap? Are they going to wait for their partner till she's done or he's done shopping? And so it's more rich than just a thing. So Steve and I bounced it around, and it's up for everyone's consideration, particularly the input, public comment, which I prefer to say, folks, which is that I join the committee and I do what I can to make some of those nouns into verbs and to get a little richer background. And one of the things that was hammered into me for designing was the questions for what to put there, what to do there, need to lend to what exactly do we want? How big is it? Where is it? Who does it serve? What are its flaws? And it's not that we would ask all those questions, but I would try to translate and in some of those public comments into a whole sentence with a verb. And I would try to encourage the committee to solicit a richer answer than, oh, a couple benches would be nice, or a zip line would be great. And I will reveal that was one of the comments.
I told you it would be, right?
Yeah, it's
Didn't
pretty
I?
funny. Yeah.
So that wasn't.
Across the river
Yeah,
or
it's
just
across
Yeah,
the
it
river.
was, yeah, across the river.
Everyone wants a
It
zip
was
line.
just after the comment about a roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Or at least one mouse.
I think, too, we should, and I by no means want to try to even come close to trying to figure this out tonight, but we should start thinking about what is going to be the cutoff date for
Yeah.
public input.
Right.
And then winnow through what's come in to make the list kind of lean and mean.
Right, I would love to make it lean and mean.
So-
The end, yeah.
Just people start thinking about that idea of when do we cut it off and go with what we have.
And Amanda has proposed provisionally, and we approved her proposal, which was end of December for the first set of comments.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
end of December for the first set
All
of
right.
comments. And what she proposed was a design that would be essentially A, B, maybe a C, but just A, B, and what do people like? That was her proposal.
Excuse me, didn't she also say in this document, and by other means, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the input would last until into spring?
So there were two phases.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
That calendar and the timeline on the back has input in February and in March.
Right.
Right.
Which is separate from what she envisions. I'm channeling Amanda right now, so for what that's worth, I might be off, but what she has said to me is she envisions cutting off the survey, the comments as of the end of December, collating those comments, gleaning patterns from those comments, and then going through a second set of, after, okay, we got the basic ideas, then we do a design phase, and we put out maybe 2 designs for the community to comment on. Yeah. That's what I understand. Might be an error. I'm speaking on for for Amanda. Amanda, you'll hear me in video. I hope I got this straight. If I didn't, you'll correct me next time. Yeah. So, in the interest of time.
Can I say one thing
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah.
If she means public comment cut off in December, that seems fine. That doesn't give us enough time to consult with the adjoining property owners and key stakeholders that we so far haven't talked with. It's coming up on winter holidays, and everyone's going to be busy and possibly unavailable.
So, one thing I do hear from both Jen and you is how important it is to speak to these, quote, key stakeholders, being Parks and Rec, DPW, Tree Committee, Conservation Committee, and adjacent property owners.
I would say, yeah, whoever's maintaining the park and whoever is right next to the park, I think are the, to me, probably the most important
And
people. But I mean, it's not, I don't think we can't work on concepts and developing a program before we talk to them either. So I think that, like, it's all stuff that, like, we have to have them as part of the discussion along the way.
and it's a cycle of refinement.
Yeah.
Nothing is final until it's final.
I don't think it has to happen before January 1st, is, I guess, what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Okay. So, is this something for us to think about until our next meeting?
I think, speaking to that, I would love it if people thought about it. Well, one, I'd like to get a sense of a buy-in on the idea and implementing it. And then, whether you buy in or not, what you would add to the list, considerations, so that we at least have something. What don't we know yet? Who haven't we talked with yet? How much does a bench cost? What do other parks look like? There are lots of little parks. Some of us have visited some of them. I've not visited very many, but I think it'd be really good to look at them and take some of the lessons from them. What went wrong? What went really right? Are those parks in towns like Exeter, or are they on the desert, or big Manhattan, whatever?
So it sounds like there are
So-
two things you would like to do. You would like to give homework to committee members who are interested and able to go look at other parks.
Google it.
Yeah, online and learn up. So that's one thing. And the other is to consider this process that you recommend.
Please.
Yeah. So I would suggest that we talk next month, when I hope that Amanda and Dev can be here, about this process and about the comments that have come in at that point. Dave?
Yep. Sounds great.
Okay?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, and maybe, I mean, I don't know if anyone feels overwhelmed by creating a list.
I know.
But if
I
so, I'm almost thinking
recognize
you and
that.
I could, like, start a draft for people to respond to, as opposed to just, here's a blank piece of paper.
Right, but it would be fun to field and useful, I think, to field any.
Do you have time to start a draft before?
Well, we're meeting on Sunday, I
sometime.
think, yeah, so we'll,
Can we have
Let's go.
a draft list as of next meeting?
yeah, maybe.
Okay, maybe, okay.
I think we
Draft
could.
being the
Deadline for the packet is 48 hours before the meeting, basically, but I like to have things before that. So if you can get it to me, 4 days in advance, so people can read.
And the
5
next
days.
meeting is the
19th of December,
19th,
yeah.
So, like, by the 16th.
Yes, that'd be the latest, yeah. All right, if I can move on?
The input committee question.
Go ahead.
What? Would it be useful for me, as a liaison between our whole group and the input committee, and useful to the input committee, the public comment committee, to help collate and assimilate
Yes.
and translate, for lack of a better word, the comments you have received? And Amanda should, ideally, is the person.
Yeah.
She's taken the lead.
Yeah.
So next meeting?
Well, I think that it would be fine to approach Amanda in between meetings and offer your services. And you're speaking for the entire subcommittee right now.
I am.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
and I wouldn't take a directive approach. I'd be like your shortstop, you know? This is,
Okay.
ask questions, write things down, not steer the boat.
Very good.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Let's move on to fundraising, grants, money, cash.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot. I've never applied for a grant, ever. And thanks to Dave Sharples, my first call, he answers the phone. Thank goodness. So we have to look for grant opportunities. We've got to find partners, sponsors, donations, amenities, volunteer services, and as much as we can get before the town votes on what we have to have. So, and Dave says there's a surge in construction and activity around town, so it may be tough to get what we want. So,
So in terms of
donations.
donations, not in
Yes.
terms of
Grants.
Okay, excellent.
Well-
Thank you.
So he said there are no public grants that he could find, but he gave me 5 good ones that I looked at. And I've looked at others too, and I've searched terms that he said search. ADA accessible, native plants, the elderly, community engagements, youth engagement, art, health, wellness, pollinator gardens, historical, wildlife habitat, urban greening, water conservation, and I found a lot. But he said they could be tricky, and they are. I found a lot of them say you need a mission statement, you need a vision. You need, a lot of them say matching funds, so we have to have the money to match. A lot of them say firm estimates, accurate cost estimates, and finished blueprints, detailed plans, shovel-ready sites. So that narrows it down, but I have a list, and eventually we can apply. Does anyone here have grant experience?
I do. Yeah,
You're-
I've been
you're
a
hired.
nonprofit for a long time. No, I'm not gonna, I won't charge, but I'll cast about among the federal and regional agencies.
Okay.
and-
great.
And NGOs, yeah.
Now, there's one thing that I asked Dave about. Jen Wheeler, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, said she would act as our fiduciary, giving us a 501c3 if we use her. And because, some people prefer to donate to nonprofits. And I wondered if that is possible, or how do you feel about that? It would give,
I think, wouldn't we have to become like a
Friends of?
Friends of group, I
Yeah,
think?
yeah.
Or there would have to be a Friends of group formed that was sort of, I think,
When you
independent of the
say
town.
they give you, like, you're gonna use going to
If
their
we-
umbrella?
Yeah.
Or you don't, so you don't have to create a
right,
nonprofit?
right, you don't, she said.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what
Okay.
she told me.
Okay. Yeah, I'd
And
be further, I don't know.
they also have a charitable trust, that beautification trust for the community that she sure would help us. So I wondered if we are allowed to do that, or do we want to do that?
Are there
I
grants
make a
from
suggestion?
NGOs?
Hold on.
So I would first start with contacting Corey Stevens, who's our finance director. And he can answer some of those questions and
Okay.
also weigh between, because typically donations like that for something like this would, somebody would make a donation, it comes before the select board, and then Corey, through the, finance, sets up a certain fund. So I would start with Corey, because he would be the person in the know to sort of direct the committee as to what would be best for the
Good.
committee and the town. It's a very generous offer from Jen, but I think I'd feel comfortable if we went through Corey.
Yes, I knew we had to do something there. Okay, well, I wondered also whether we do want to form a Friends of the Park committee with all those wonderful supporters that approached us at the polls and approached the select board in letter and in person, because they could be a source of fundraising, from bake sales to publicity to car washes to organizing a 5K, or there's, quite a few that came before the select board, and several approached me and said, what can we do to help?
Nice.
And I just wondered whether that's interests anyone.
If I could turn to Nico again, or any of the other staff members in the room,
I still have a question.
to ask what precedent there is for Friends of.
So right now, there is a Friends of Rec that was created, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, so there is precedent for that. But again, talking to Corey,
Corey.
that would be one of the options you could walk through with him, and he could tell you exactly how that would work.
Okay.
And how that's currently working for Friends of Rec.
How does the committee feel?
It's worth looking into, for sure.
Yep.
Give us greater numbers looking for funding.
Yeah.
Actually, that sounds good, too, Friends of, as opposed
It's a
to
nice
just.
ring to it.
Pairpoint.
Yeah. These people seem to be in their 40s and 50s. They have lots of energy. They aren't like me.
Right?
Also, Dave, do you have a comment?
I just have one thing to suggest, if you go down that road, because, I'm familiar with Friends of, and generally speaking, when they create something, it's a long-term thing. Friends of this sanctuary,
Right.
this sanctuary is gonna be there for 80 years. Friends of Pairpoint Park, well, okay, is it to fundraise and then build the design, and then what are they gonna do? Is it gonna continue, so you want to evaluate the length of time and the
Good idea.
cost it's gonna take to create a 501(c), because it's not like you don't fill in one page and send it in. It's complicated to,
Okay.
so the time and effort and expense to create it, and then when is that, and then how long does it really, what are you gonna have it for? Is it simply for fundraising, and then once the park's done, it's gone? It just to put into the
Right.
calculus of deciding on that.
True, yeah, the purpose of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So eventually, we are going to have to find out, decide what levels of donations, the levels of donations, and visit businesses, and I'm not a subcommittee, I'm a subperson, so I'm hoping we are all in this subcommittee of funding. So I know there are community groups that would give, walking, and my garden club funded Mary and her pollinator garden, and they give,
Project in the works.
they ask for an application, but they give $200 maximum for planting pollinators for a pollinator pathway 2 years in a row. There are a lot of little things like that. So running groups, biking groups, art groups. So I've got a lot of questions, but I'm working on the funding, a lot of papers at home, but just one
And-
paper here tonight.
If I could ask, perhaps we're all on the.
Yeah, I would think you are,
On the grants and.
especially once the charrette's
Fundraising,
finished.
yes, committee, but it sounds like you could use some staff, I'm not saying staff. It sounds like you could use some help on this committee,
Staff, too.
not you guys specifically, but the committee members who can.
That would be great. I don't see any hands raised, but
Yeah,
Let's see.
we'll see.
I've still got that other project to do, so.
Yes, you do have that other project, but yeah. Bill is demurring.
we really can't do too much right now, but we do have to develop a plan, like Mary said.
Yeah, and that could be woven into the
Right.
proposal. And I have a dangling question.
Okay?
My dangling question is this. I've noticed, so it's a two-part question. Can the town take grant money from a governmental agency or an NGO? And I'm thinking, didn't the police just get a grant for some kind of speed camera widget?
Oh, yeah, we
There's a
take.
precedent for us getting money from the feds or the state or the,
Oh, yeah,
county.
yeah, but I'm familiar with all those. I pretty much can probably tell you all of them that are available. This one's gonna be tough because, A, the size and impact of the project. I mean, it's 2,400 square feet, so, so there's not a lot of size and impact, and these federal grants, the criteria and the eligibility, there's not a lot, I don't think and then with federal grants particularly, and state grants, most state grants come from the feds, the money comes from the feds. So as soon as you hit prevailing wage or Davis-Bacon, you're looking at adding 30% to the project. So if you're getting 20% grant and you're adding 30%, you do the math, like it kind of the threshold on the size of this project kind of depends. So I think we need to design it, figure out what it's gonna cost, do a cost estimate, and then evaluate some of these grants to see if they're even worth it. Because I'm thinking, I don't see, that's why the list I gave Ann was more
Private.
hometown grants.
Yeah.
There's like kind of private entity grants for $5,000, 50, 20 grand, those things. I think those are the sweet spot for this one. I'm not sure there's gonna be a lot of federal funding out there for this. That makes it worth it to go after.
okay, so it's competitive, and it isn't going to create jobs. It probably isn't going to contribute to an improvement in infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, it is
that's
gonna,
realistic.
yeah, it's not gonna be a destination, like a park out at Fort Hampton Road, people are actually gonna travel there from other parts of the community. I think this park is gonna be more used by people who are already down there, who people live there, that are walking by, they're gonna have lunch. I mean, maybe someone will drive from, Outer Pickpocket Road to come down here to specifically go to that park, but I think it's more rare, so, those are all factors in eligibility there. When you're talking about grants, it's like, who's gonna use them, what need does it fulfill of the community? And this is a great little jewel, I don't think it, the community-wide impact that a lot of this federal grant money is looking for, I'm not sure this reaches that criteria.
And then one other dangling question related to the grants. I think we should each start keeping track of our contributions, whether it's mileage or paid employees doing a task for us, or buying gas for your weed eater. I think we should keep track of our time and our costs, each of us, as we go, because they may be money in the bank, so to speak, for matching as we pursue these ideas.
And we have a spreadsheet for keeping track of time.
We do.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we
Can you
do.
send it around again?
Yes,
Thank you.
we do.
Time and expenses.
Well, expenses, we haven't included.
Yeah, we don't, it's not on there.
Yeah, I think we should.
Is it?
Yeah.
Whether it's copies or,
It's very easy to edit a spreadsheet. I'm happy to edit the spreadsheet, so expenses.
thanks.
We can also, you can also estimate that. I mean, you're
Yes.
talking about in-kind
Yeah.
services for match, and not hard match or cash match.
Yeah, that's right.
Generally, that's just you can estimate that, but
But
generally.
we should document it. I'm just thinking.
No,
about the
I'm not
tax
saying not
people.
document it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a lot of the expenses though prior, they don't usually go retroactive.
Gotcha.
Like when you're going for the grant, like, oh, we bought this a year ago, they don't usually, they're like,
Right.
okay, like, I don't know if that's good for in-kind, but
We
I
can
think
track.
our hours that we're tracking, I think what we're doing is good.
Okay.
If, do you have access to that? Does everyone have?
Yes,
Yeah,
everyone has
we all
access
do.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, and then, it was when you go into input it, you don't have to write 48 minutes, you can put, 0.75, or,
Right.
or just one, you can estimate it.
Now, he says we are responsible for the grant ourselves, but he will edit it for us and work alongside of us, right, Dave?
Oh, yeah, I'd definitely provide support, for that one time.
I thought he turned his chair over on that.
I know.
We have a
No, I mean,
citizen, we have
yeah,
a citizen, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I don't have a ton of bandwidth to seek and write. I mean, if something, but if the committee has something, then I'm happy to review it, look at the eligible criteria, give my advice, review and comment, and then submit it on behalf of the town and be the signatory on behalf of the town. I can happily do that.
Right.
I just would need some support from the
Right.
from the committee on
Yeah, and
that.
I'll help when the time comes.
Yeah, the time,
I'm not going to jump on it right now,
yeah,
though.
right.
Doug Eastman, you have a
The
comment.
former treasurer or finance person for Swayze Parkway years ago, back in the 90s. A lot of experience with finance and we were a 501c. Oh, sorry, we were a 501c with Swayze Parkway. And I would like to strongly recommend that, I agree with Nico, that when it comes to the financing portion of this, that Corey Stevens is our finance director for the town. And depending on which way you go, whether you set up a separate account, he is probably the person to talk to about
Good,
that.
yeah.
He's the wizard when it comes to financing.
We need a wizard.
And knows the legal process,
Good.
how to go, so we don't end up jammed up, but I think that would be a
Thank you.
great thing for you to.
Ann, do you feel comfortable spearheading that?
I would relinquish it. if
You would
you'd like.
relinquish it?
Would you like it?
No,
I will do it if I'm charged with that.
well, do we have any other takers?
Would you like to go with me, Mary?
I'll help toward the end, and I would love it if Doug and Nico and Dave maybe could put in a good word for us with Corey, so that we're not, so we're not making a cold call.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I'll let him know tonight.
He's very.
Oh, good.
He is incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Good.
And Corey can explain everything to everyone in a way that everyone walks away understanding.
Maybe he should come to our next meeting.
Premature.
I can ask him.
Which brings us to our next item on the agenda, and last item, which is items for next meeting's agenda. So you talked about, Dave, you talked about a draft list, and that would be, who would do that? That would be Jen and Mary. And a request for Corey to come. Is he available?
We'll find out.
We'll find out. Okay.
Do we need him?
Here?
We just need an answer from him, really.
Yeah,
There's- yes.
soon.
Yeah.
To ask him to start.
Staff's time, and he's got his hands in a lot of different things.
He
with the
does.
budget, year end. I think that if I could respectfully request that we start out working through a phone call, I'm happy to
Okay.
talk to him as well. And maybe we can report back, because he is awfully busy right now.
Truck's not loaded yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
And what you're going to report on, exactly.
What did you say?
So, being a stickler for details, you're going to contact Corey Stevens and ask for a financial. Yes.
If someone just emails, yeah, you can email me the questions and I
Yeah,
can
well, that
I can get the
501
answers and I can bring it back and tell you what he says at the next meeting or whatever.
How did Swayze Park become a 501c3?
Oh, it goes back a long way.
Okay.
Yeah, back many, many years. And I want to say it was something, once you establish it, it's something that you want to continue. Doesn't sound like that would be a fit
Right.
for
This
this
part.
project.
No.
Not that this is important, but 501 is like a long-term,
Yeah.
a long-term situation, like Swayze, that just continues
Yeah.
on and on.
Yeah.
Well, unless the maintenance of whatever we build there becomes an ongoing thing that Parks and Rec can't handle or whatever, like, then it could be that we have a 501c3 that manages the maintenance, long-term maintenance and kind of like cleans up trash. I mean, there's going to be
Then you
stuff
would
to
have
do in that park.
And you would have to have a committee, I believe, of probably 3 or 4 people that would.
Officers?
Oh, yes, yes. A 501c3 is a,
It's its own legal entity.
it's its own legal entity.
It's not our committee.
Yes, no,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
It's, yes.
It'd be independent.
Can I make an offer?
Yes,
I'll
please.
make an offer. If you want to get your questions together, email them to me, and I can sit with Corey and get those answers, get them back to you and to the chair, and then collaboratively, we can discuss that at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm willing to be
Nice.
part of that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
One more agenda item.
We're not done with items for next,
This
Yes.
is one.
yeah, okay, so.
Because Amanda and Devin weren't here to report, please put them on the agenda for December.
Can I ask a question about that? So we're meeting on December 19th,
Good question.
but does that mean we don't get to listen to the feedback until January, whatever, we meet again?
Amanda did not want to divulge anything yet. That was Amanda's position. You
But
could push.
yet now or yet in December?
Yet now.
Okay.
You could contact Amanda and ask for a lead. You want to get started.
Well, I just feel like the longer we wait, I mean, we're kind of like waiting for public feedback before we can really finalize our architectural program and really finalize like what's going into this design. Like we need to hear from the community. So if we're waiting until January to hear back and then we're expecting to have 2 designs fully developed by April when she wants to go back to the public, it doesn't give us a whole lot of time. So
No, it doesn't.
I would love to hear a preview, I think, in December, if we can. I mean, it's only a few weeks away from when the feedback is cut off, and those are holiday weeks when I don't think Pairpoint Park's going to be top of mind for most people anyway. So I feel like having some kind of feedback on what has been heard would be wonderful by December, mid-December.
Okay.
It sounds like we're
help.
getting a lot,
It would
so,
help focus where we're going.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
And I would add to that, that just receiving that information is useful, and we aren't necessarily going to act on it,
right.
or
Yeah. Very good. With an agenda in draft form, on paper right now and in my mind, and reserving the right of the chair to make additions as may be required, I think we're done with their business.
cheers.
2 minutes to go.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
It's a good meeting.
For this week's report. Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Bi-Weekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.